good afternoon or good evening or good morning in some other people's time zone. A very warm welcome to everyone. This is the Electronic Dance Meetup Maximizing Opportunities during ADE. My name is Nicole. I'm Emma's event manager, and so just a little bit about us. Within Emma, we unite music within Emma, we unite music manager organizations across 18 European countries, which represent more than 3,000 managers across Europe. We've made it our mission to strengthen European managers globally through our Empower program, which encompasses education, advocacy, networking, and research. Empower is a project co-funded by the European Union. So if you want to know more about us or you want to stay up to date with upcoming events like this one, make sure to visit our website, follow us on social media, join the WhatsApp group, sign up to our newsletter, and you can find all of that in the links in the chat that Jess will be putting on. Within the chat also, there's a general manager's contact list where you can leave your contact details and find the details of other people. Lastly, when you log off Zoom at the end of the session, a super brief survey will pop up. So please take a moment to fill that out, as your feedback helps us massively to improve the upcoming events. And so just a reminder, there will be time for questions after. So if you don't want to forget your question, just write them in the chat, and if there's a question that resonates with you, just give it a thumbs up or an emoji so we can make sure that it gets answered. So today's event is moderated by one of our steering committee members, Jackie Quenda. And without further ado, I pass on the mic to you.
Hi, everyone. It's so wonderful to see all your faces, and thank you for joining us for this very exciting gathering to talk about ADE, which is coming up very soon. Always a joy to attend and stressful for some. So today's session is really going to dig into some of the things that would be helpful in terms of preparing and getting the most out of ADE if you are attending or if you're planning on maybe attending next year and just sort of starting your preparations early on. So my name is Jackie. I'm part of the steering committee here at Emma, and I will hand you over to our wonderful speakers today. And I'll start from my right, going to my left. So just ask you all to introduce yourselves, and I'll start with Ines.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ines Martinez. I'm a booking agent at Mac Artists, which is a booking agency that specializes in the Asian territory. And I lived in Amsterdam for 8 years, and I've been going to ADE for a very long time. So very happy to be here.
Thank you, Ines. Ali?
Sure, thanks. Hey, everyone. My name's Ali Gilani. I'm the Artist and Label Relations Lead at Bandcamp. I've been at Bandcamp for 9.5 years now, and I've been going to ADE probably for about 7 or 8 years, I guess, now. I think when I started, I was very much in the category of trying to get people to meet with me, and now it's a bit of that, but a little bit of the other way around, which is nice. And yeah, I'm looking forward to sharing some perspectives with you all.
Amazing. Thank you, Madeline.
Yes. Hello, my name is Madeline. I'm based in Amsterdam. I'm Dutch. And I am an artist manager and publisher, both for my own company. I started in, well, not the music industry, but in the dance industry, which was connected to ADE at Spinning Records. Well, the management department on the Spinning Records. So my first time ADE was 2014. But yeah, from a bit of a different perspective as I'm based here. So yeah, I'm excited for today and all the insights.
Sorry, I mispronounced your name. It's Madeline.
Yeah, no, and even in Dutch it's different. It's Madeleine, but it's difficult for a lot of people.
Okay, well, thank you all for the introductions. We'll get stuck in with a very general question around ADE and why it's crucial to attend ADE. So I'll start with you, Madeline, actually, because you've been in Amsterdam, you've lived there, you've probably, AD's probably been part of like, you know, your core memories. So why would you say it's important to attend ADE as a dance and electronic music professional?
Well, yeah, it's the biggest dance conference and events week, of course, in the scene. And yeah, it's just so valuable as everybody comes here. Of course, there are a lot of different conferences over the world, but yeah, it's just a week that also like a lot of people that are not even in a dance scene, like all of my friends are so into like, oh, who's going to ADE? And they're all going to the parties. They don't even know about the whole conference part. But the whole city, like the flags and everything that you guys see when you arrive, they're already here like a few days earlier. And then the whole city gets that little buzz already. And I feel proud of the fact that it's coming and everybody is coming. So yeah, it's amazing to have like such a like to live in a city where such a big thing is happening, and yeah, just to host for so many people, that's crazy. So yeah, yeah, as I said, like just to have everybody here, that's the biggest value of the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really one of those conferences where you will find a lot of people converging in one place, and it's like so helpful to be there because it's rare to have that many people at various levels of the industry being in one place at the same time. So Inez, I think my question for you would be more specific in terms of like for managers specifically, why is it important for them to attend ADE, particularly from your perspective as someone who works in a booking agency?
Well, I think absolutely everyone is here. So is the place in the world where you can maximize the most the exposure that you get to different professionals. So from a manager perspective, you can book, you can, you know, you can meet with labels, you can meet with booking agents, you can meet with promoters. So I think, you know, it's definitely a week where you can tackle a lot of things for your artists and also like for your own career, meet other managers and grow.
That's true. Ali, from your past experiences, being someone who started wanting to meet people and now kind of being the person that people want to meet, what would you say has really caught your eye or stood out about ADE from those perspectives of somebody who's trying to get their sort of foot in the door and build that black book and then, you know, sort of being on the other side?
Yeah, I think it's I think echoing what the other guys have said about just, you know, everybody is there, but not only is everybody there, but they're there with that purpose of making those connections. And I think like one of the things I found really important, or I've sort of learned to do, is to make sure that if I'm cold approaching people that I want to meet with, it's like making sure I'm meeting with the right person and that I'm explaining why I want to meet with them, because I've had instances where I've agreed to a meeting with someone, I go to it, and within like 2 minutes, I realize this is pointless for both of us, like because the parameters weren't quite set right. So I'm a lot more, I've learned to be a lot more targeted about what I'm doing and like really have a goal. Like, you know, I'm lucky that I can go with one other colleague from our team. We have an event that we put on as well. So we've kind of got a few different touch points that we can have. But, you know, we kind of spoke about a month before the event and we're like, right, what are our key targets for this month? For this week? Who do we want to talk to? What kinds of people are we open to taking meetings with? Who would we rather just invite to our event instead? And just kind of being a bit like quite systematic about what you want to get out of it, because it's quite easy to go, you do a bunch of meetings, you get to the end of it and you can't remember anything that you spoke about or like who you spoke with, things kind of blur into one a bit. So I think, yeah, I've learned to just be a little bit more clear about what I want. And I think that's been really helpful.
Yeah, having some of those goals is really important. And we were talking about that just a little bit earlier, Madeline, about that. Would you like to expand a little bit on how you sort of approach that in terms of like having goals and being very clear about what it is that you want to achieve?
Yeah, so I think I did the same. Like in the beginning, you're like going and you'll just see whatever like comes on your path. And then I noticed that I was really overwhelmed like every year. And I was like, okay, what am I doing? You know, and I went to every party and I felt like I had to be everywhere that my artists were. And I had to meet a lot of people and all of that. And then at the end, I was like, okay, but what did I actually get out of it? And that was also the moment that I started to change a few things for my artists. That I was like, okay, you're going into the week. Like I have a lot of international artists as well. So they are paying a lot to be here, you know, for the hotel, for the flight and everything. So I was like, okay, what is going to make you happy and fulfilled if you actually come home and you look back at this week? And I was like, okay, it's always good to work for your artist, but then thinking about yourself, maybe I need a goal as well. And it makes it so much more fun to just have a clear goal. And with some, it might not be for my goal. It's just like people that I always catch up with. There are a few people that I see every year with ADE, and it's just super fun. But yeah, it is good to have a certain goal in your mind, and it doesn't even have to be big. Like I have one artist that says we just want to meet a lot of people from different labels, for example, or one is looking for a publisher, and it doesn't have to be that we have like really serious conversations already, but just get to know a lot of people, see who you vibe with. And that's the best way to do that at ADE, because there are so many mixers, so many parties, and just during the day as well, running into people and just having a little chit chat. That's the best way to get to know each other. So it definitely works. But as I also said, like in the beginning, I didn't have a specific goal. So you don't always have to have it. But over the years, I noticed that it's, yeah, sometimes I have a clear goal. For this year, for example, for myself, I don't have a clear goal. Like not a really big one, but I have a few really specific ones with my artists. So those goals became my goals as well. So that's actually yeah, it's a different type of way this year.
So it's a combination of like structure and then sort of putting yourself in different environments just to see who you meet. I know for myself, I just tend to have like, my goal is just go out and have as many interesting connections as possible and to like reconnect with the communities that I'm typically in touch with over the year, you know, like She Said So or her dance floor, or just go to mixers basically and just like say hi to people. That tends to work really well for me. And I just want to talk about access to the conference. So there's obviously tiered access, you know, you can have access to a pass, or you might not be able to afford one. And there's obviously different types of access that comes with having one or not. And so I guess I wanted to speak to you, Inez, about that. And in terms of like, when you have a pass, what's the best way to sort of make use of it? Because you have access to the database of people who you can reach out to prior as well. What are some of the sort of resources that you can use to sort of research and make sure that you make the most out of the people who will be there and the panels and all the kinds of activities that you have access to with a pass?
I think it's very important if you are spending, like, I think the basic ticket is 550 euros right now, plus of course getting you there, that you really like prepare in advance. Like once you get the pass, you get this like amazing like database where you can actually see everyone who's there. Mind you, like most people actually don't look into the messages there. But I think you as a manager, if you know that there's like specific labels or specific agencies or specific artists that are going to be there and that are going to be speaking, it gives you like a direct access to them. So something that used to work really well for me in the past is that I would make sure that I had a specific schedule, or like, I don't know, I want to meet with the A&R of Tool Room, for example, because my emerging artists right now would like to have a release with them. I would actually go really early, like to the panel, like make sure that I would sit like on the front row, have already like some like pre-questions that I would like to like ask them, really listen to what they were saying, and I would actually draft like different questions. So the moment that there's like open to questions, there's a lot of like awkward moments where no one's talking. So that's actually like your opportunity to shine, because you get to like say, hey, you know, I'm Ines Martinez. I have, you know, these artists and these artists. It has to be really brief, but you can actually say like, hey, Martin, I would like to direct a question to you. I really liked how you handled the release of so and so and so. How would you approach, you know, this experience that I am having? Like, what would you do, for example? That will make sure that that person is going to remember you. And then once everyone, like once the like questions and answers like finish, people are usually pretty open to, for people to approach them. Like it needs to be like done like tactfully. You need to look at, you know, if they're open or not. But then you can go there and like be really brief and say like, hey, Martin, I would love to have your contact details. Would you be open to have a conversation maybe later, like this week? Or can we just jump on a call like the week after? And, you know, I think it's important to like be brief, but you have already like done your like job as introducing you. You've had like those like 60 seconds or like, you know, 2 minutes to shine. And then just have like that brief connection, and make sure you follow up after, because everyone's like super busy. So, you know, they might not have time. And maybe if you do that, you know, in 5 panels, you're going to have like 5 possible meetings like after. So it really helped me to have the pass at the beginning. You just need to be really structured.
Yeah, thank you for that. I would like to ask you like a follow-on question, just quickly, how you approach using the database outside of like going to the panels and looking at the schedule.
You can actually filter it per job title. A lot of people don't actually like read to the emails, but you can actually see who's there. And I just like go on LinkedIn, you know, like usually I actually like get the LinkedIn, or I don't do it anymore, but I used to like pay for the LinkedIn premium actually for like a month before. And I would make sure that I would message everyone like, or over Instagram, you know, I would do a lot of research and make sure that I would message them in advance. And I would always make sure that I would actually put my meetings on the Wednesdays and the Thursdays, because on the Fridays, everyone's hungover, or like most people, or like tired. And a lot of people, if you're not their priority, they're actually going to cancel your meetings, which used to happen to me like the first year and the second. So if a meeting is important, just make sure that it's on like, you know, the Wednesday or the Thursday. And I usually actually arrive a day earlier. So if you get there like on Tuesday, there might be some people that you can actually already like meet before the craziness begin. But the database is like super useful. You just need to make sure that you start in advance.
Thank you for that. Madeline, do you have any thing to add to that, particularly in terms of like following up and how you turn those contacts into something more meaningful in terms of collaborations or bookings? What are some of the ways in which you sort of capitalize on those connections that you've made once you've made them?
Yeah. Well, I first wanted to jump in on the fact what Ines was saying about the pass and everything. So I don't buy a pass anymore because a lot of things are happening around like the whole conference part. Actually, I don't have time to go to panels and stuff. If there's really an interesting panel, then maybe I know some people and I can ask that. But overall, I don't really do that. So I saw also in the chat like what some questions from Max, and maybe a few I can answer. So indeed, as Ines said, like a lot of people jump in earlier already or come into Amsterdam earlier. So on Monday and Tuesday, it's really nice to already have a few meetings. And actually all of my meetings I plan from like Wednesday to Friday. Of course, you'd have to see if you have a pass, like if that like aligns with your panels and stuff. But on like the Saturday and Sunday, a lot of people are not doing any meetings anymore. A lot of people are actually flying out already. And then I do my meetings in indeed hotel lobbies. So the Hoxton is a good one. Andas is a good one. Some are at the Pulitzer. So it's really like the bigger hotels. It used to be like Dylan and Felix Mauritius a little bit of well, but those were like ADE things. So I didn't have a pass, so I didn't go in there. But yeah, so I wanted to jump on that. And when it comes to like contacts, yeah, so it's really like seeing, okay, who do you want to meet up with? And then actually connecting with them. And what I always do is I have like a notes thing open in my phone. And then after every meeting, I write down a few things. That can be like general things, or it can be like specific things that we talked about that I'm going to send to them or they're going to send to me. And then after ADE, I don't like follow up right away, like not like right away on the Monday. A lot of people have to recover. A lot of people are flying back. A lot of people will be hit with the ADE flu. So just a few days after, and then just really following up on what you talked about. And either it really depends, of course, what it's about. But it could help to have like a follow-up call or just stay in touch over email. With some people, what I really like is that at ADE, we have like our fixed meeting, but then during the year, we always say like, hey, I want to do a catch up. And it's not with a specific goal, but just to keep those contacts warm. So yeah, it really differs per person when it's like, for example, a booking agent, as you said, or when it's like right now with one of my artists, we're looking for a publisher. So yeah, we will actively go after all of that and make sure that we schedule a follow-up call and that there is like, yeah, hopefully a deal that will come out of that. So yeah, when it's specifically for that, then it's a different type of approach. I wouldn't say more aggressive. I'm not that aggressive in my way of working, but a bit more proactive and really like, okay, we want to take those next steps instead of like, it was fun meeting you and let's stay in touch.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Ali, what's the best way to follow up from your perspective?
Yeah, like, I mean, I now tend to have kind of any conference I go to, I'll have like a thing up in my notes app just so I can put down, you know, action points and like, you know, I think I think everyone's kind of mentioned as well, you know, part of my reason of being targeted about things is that I do want time just to kind of float around and go to things, and you bump into people, you know, and then you get introduced to people, and then it's, you know, you'll get just get someone's contact, put a little note, and then, you know, you've got something to kind of follow up with afterwards. I think there's, you know, like, yeah, there, as Madeline was saying, you know, everyone is meeting in the hotels, like the Hoxton, for example. It's great because everyone's there, but it's so noisy in there and so chaotic. Like they have a DJ on from like 10 in the morning till 4 in the morning or whatever. And so sometimes, like if you're really trying to get kind of specific work done, it's quite hard sometimes. So I think like a lot of it is making those connections and then being able to follow up with something very specific afterwards. Like completely agree with what Madeline said of not being like, you know, I get sometimes I'll like get home and there's already like 4 emails from people. I'm like, you gotta give me some time to chill here. Like, you know, we're all trying to kind of recover from it. So so yeah, I think kind of having that, I've actually like now what I tend to do is because I find the day so intense sometimes. I'm often too tired to go to the parties. I'll go to a couple of drinks things and then I'm kind of done. And I will, if I'm back in my hotel room, just sit and like write things up into a Google Doc just while it's fresh in my memory, because the number of times I come back from events and I look at someone's name and I'm just like, I have no idea who this is. Can't remember why I've got their contact details. And then you're sort of like, do I email them? Is that embarrassing if I'm like, hey, I'm emailing you, you know, without really kind of knowing why? So I find like trying to make sure that you actually do that work before it gets too stale in your mind, because, you know, even if you're making notes, when it's on the fly, you'll use a shorthand and you know what it means in the moment, but then a week later, it might not make so much sense. So I think kind of giving yourself time to do that is important. But yeah, I think with the follow-ups, I sort of stagger things. I do a lot of like you know, if I've been organizing a meeting with someone over email beforehand, I'll then snooze the email for when I know I want to follow up, and then it'll just pop back into my inbox at the right time, and it gives me the reminder to like, you know, now's a good time to follow back up with them for our meeting. So I use like little tools like that just to kind of make sure it's not all. And you know, if you do kind of set your follow-up day, sometimes that can be too much to do in one day, and it's better to stagger it and kind of just not pressurize yourself too much as well within all of that.
I think
Yeah,
it
I
also
think,
really,
sorry, go ahead.
it really depends. it really depends in which position you are. Like right now you are in a position in which like people come to you, so it's, oh, you know, you are taking like notes, but it's actually probably the position of the other person to follow up with you because they want something from you, right? So I think as a manager, if you're like doing like outreach, is like very important to like write it down. I actually always take screenshots every time like I save a phone number, so I know, you know, which are like the last contacts. But I definitely like, unless I take notes, you're gonna meet like so many people that unless you take notes like on the moment, you will forget. Sometimes if I get along really well with the people, I actually like take like a selfie. So it's like, hey, I send a WhatsApp like, hey, it's me, I'll follow up with you, you know, in a couple of weeks, something like that. So at least they already have your number like saved, and it doesn't come like totally, you know, like, we just met at the door of the Andas, I'll follow up with you in 10 days. So when you follow up, they already like have that little bit of context.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good. I also wanted to say, like, there are a lot of artists as well. Ines, you probably have that as well, that come to you and that like, oh yeah, follow me on Instagram. And I do the same with like taking a screenshot of their Instagram. So I remember like, oh, I talked to that person. I need to check out their music, see if it's like a potential new client for the future. And yeah, so that's something that I I recognize.
Yeah, Instagram's a really great one as well, like to keep track of people. So we've talked a lot about like the sort of mechanics of it, like meeting people, going to panels and all of that. But we all know that there's just so much happening. And Ali's already talked about this, about how, you know, he sort of compartmentalizes things and decides when to go to things and when not to go to things. How have you all, I guess is a question for all of you, but I'll start with Ines, sort of managed to balance, or how do you manage to balance, you know, everything that's happening at ADE, like all at once? I know when I started going, I went to like every single thing because I just wanted to experience it all. And now that I've been a few more times, I don't even think I went to a party last year. I went to the party my artist was playing. That's what I did last year. I didn't go to any parties, and I went to a couple of mixes because I just wanted to preserve my energy, because it kind of feels like it's a whole month happening in 1 week. And then of course you have to go back to work afterwards, you know. So yeah, I think I've become quite discerning. So how do you sort of handle that, and what are the things you do and not do?
It's a lot. And I have ADD, so you know, like as a neurospicy person, everything's like even more like overwhelming. I make sure that I have rest time in between meetings. I actually sometimes I go and hide in the bathroom and I just like breathe, literally, because if you're in the Andas like with 1,000 people around you, you know, I just like go and hide for a little bit. I don't go to like parties anymore. I don't think a party is unless you have like backstage access. A party, you know, you're not going to meet with the manager of the DJ that is playing. So I do go to like mixers. But yeah, I don't do the night programming until Saturday because it's a lot. And I also try to just not drink during the day. Before I would like do like a beer, you know, at 4. But I think your brain just gets a little bit like more like buzzy, and I don't last the whole time. And I also always have like Ricolas and like extra vitamins and all of that. It's hard to manage, and I think you just need to time yourself, and it's intense. Yeah. I'm not sure, like, I guess Madeline and Ali, like how you think, but I don't go out anymore until Saturday.
Yeah, I'm the same. I just last year it was really funny. My colleague and I who were there, we were there like Tuesday, and we did 2 presentations. I was on a panel, we had an event, and then we had meetings and meetings and meetings. And on the Friday afternoon, we had our last meeting with this label, and the guy was very nice, but very loud. And he was kind of like yelling at us about his new music that was coming out. And we finished the meeting, and like Dennis, my colleague, turned to me, she was like, we need to get out of here now. And a friend of ours was running this record fair for War Child, which was a little bit out of the main bit. You know, it's like 10 minutes on the bus. We went out, got on the bus, went to this place, got a glass of wine each, and just sat in silence for half an hour just to kind of rest from it all.
Wonderful.
Because it was just too much. So I think, yeah, like what you said, Inez, of like building time for rest within it, because it is really intense and it can become quite overwhelming. And I think also, yeah, it's sort of, you know, if you try and pack in too much, also like your brain just can't handle all of that overload of information, or certainly for me, I find that quite difficult. So the temptation to sort of do everything and try and be everywhere at once, I think try and kind of pull back from that. I think if you do have a conference pass, which I mean, I would agree with Madeline, I don't think it's a lot of money to spend. So I think you kind of want to know that there's a real reason for doing that. If you are going to spend that money, like what am I really going to get out of that? It's not going to stop you meeting with people. Everyone meets in hotels and in cafes and whatnot. It doesn't, just because you can't go into the conference, so it doesn't matter. But I think, yeah, if you are going, you know, really think about the things that's really important for you to go to. Is there a particular topic that you're really interested in? You know, like Inez was saying, is there someone talking who you really want to speak with? Because I know, like when I do panels, I'll always hang around afterwards and talk to people, and you're kind of receptive to it. And you know, it's a nice feeling when people come and chat to you and want to talk about what you've discussed. So that's definitely a good tactic, but it's about, yeah, being discerning with it, because if you try and do all of it, you'll just burn out. Yeah, I think, I mean, every year I'm sort of people that, you know, friends are messaging like, are you coming to this? You coming to this? I'm like, yeah, maybe. And then it gets to about 8 o'clock. I'm like, forget it. You know, the other thing actually that we're doing this year, because we remembered it last year, was we're booking one nice meal in the week where we actually book a place to go and maybe get a couple of extra seats. So that if you bump into some friends or whatever, or other people you know, you can say, come join us for dinner, because otherwise you just spend like an hour waiting for a table somewhere, and it just sort of wasting time. And actually putting that aside, like we're going to go sit somewhere a bit calmer and have some food, and maybe, you know, if there's people you want to have a bit of a more in-depth conversation with, that's quite a nice opportunity to do that too. So yeah, that's another thing. I mean, it's more cost. Amsterdam is not cheap, but if you can do that, then it's worth doing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I
a good
think
reminder
it's
to actually eat, because I can go
yeah.
like the whole day without eating, actually, from
Get
one
snacks.
thing to the next.
Yeah.
Get snacks.
So actually, I do that as well. Like I have breakfast meetings, lunch meetings, dinner meetings. So you have that scheduled already. One thing that helps me, and that's especially good if you have your hotel like in the city center or on like biking distance, like try and see if you can rent a bike or something, because that gives so much freedom. So I go home whenever I can, whenever I have like 2 hours with nothing, and I have to like yeah, get some energy for a mixer, or like 15 mixers in one evening. Then it's really nice to just have your bike, go anywhere. And a few other things, like in the first years, I scheduled meetings of like 10 minutes, and that's just not fun. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. So I take a lot more time for my meetings. I'm always the one that says, I live in Amsterdam. I have my bike, so I can be flexible. I can come to any location. So for other people that are not from here, yeah, don't make it too difficult for yourself. Find one location and sit there, maybe for like a few hours, and do a few meetings there. And yeah, there are other people that will walk around. There was one other thing that I was thinking about, but I don't know right now. Yeah, no, I think overall, like indeed, like not going to all of those parties. Oh yeah, and also, what I noticed in the first years, like you have so many different things scheduled. For example, with all of those mixers, so many scheduled that evening, and I really like over the years, I learned that it's fine to miss some things. Like there are a few that are connected to maybe your goals, or like to the things that your artists really want. Or there's like I that night I have two where like it's really important for my artist that I'm there with them. So those two are the highest on my list. And those others, it's fine, you know, and they know a lot of people over there. And for me, it's like if I don't make it, that's also fine. But yeah, don't beat yourself up about it, because it's ADE. There's a lot of things happening. So you will miss things. So don't have FOMO, because it doesn't work that week.
Yeah, that's so true. And you can't meet everyone.
No.
So it's good to preserve the energy as well, like to be able to be at like your sharpest every single day, like that really helps. Because
Yeah.
you can see
What
most
I,
people fizzling out from like Thursday. It's like
yeah,
Thursday,
really.
Friday, and it's like, yeah, you could just tell like
Yeah, and what I always see, what I think I don't really understand, but so many people walking with backpacks and like big backpacks, and then I'm like, what do you have in your backpack? You have a hotel, right? Or like you're like carrying it the whole day, and it's so heavy, and then I'm like, it's not really necessary. Like I have a little bag, yeah, because I'm a girl, I need my lipstick and my everything. But for guys, just like put your things in your, like you have your phone. Like on your phone, you can have all your notes and everything. And yeah, so I don't really understand that. But yeah, that costs a lot of energy as well.
I think now I don't take my laptop anymore, but for years I would always take my laptop just in case. It's
and never
never
use
the
it.
case.
You never
It's
use it.
never gonna
No.
happen.
Same.
You don't have
Absolutely.
time, you don't have the space. So no, definitely. Great
Yeah,
tip.
that's
Minimize the load that you're carrying because it's gonna be a long day.
I think one thing
Yeah.
as well, just sort of in terms of like, yeah, the sort of lessons we've all said we've learned about, preserving your energy and all that. I think also it's important, we talked about following up with other people, but it's also important to make your own notes for next year and remember, because you forget sometimes like what was what and how this worked, or whatever, like Madeline was saying, like, actually I can't do 10-minute meetings, that's too much, I need to space it out, whatever it might be. Even remembering like cafes that you went to that were quieter for for different types of meetings, like having
true.
that kind of information for you just helps that next year it'll improve a little bit. I mean, we have this with a lot of conferences. Like just a few weeks ago, we went to Reeperbahn and we were there for 2 nights and it was really good. We had a good time there, but we came away and did a debrief. We were like, you know what, we could do that in one night. We could do an early morning in and a late night out. We'll save some money. We don't need a pass to the conference itself. We can achieve all the things we want to achieve in this kind of slightly more cost-effective way. So I think, yeah, definitely kind of doing that debrief for yourself, I think, is quite useful as well.
That's really great.
And I see a bunch of people asking about the mixers, and I think that's also a thing that every year I always add a few people to my list of like whenever I get mixers in, I always send them directly to my artists so they can RSVP. But I also have a few other people that just reached out to me like, hey, do you know anything? And then I'm like, you know what? This year I'm going to keep you posted. So Nicole, I'm going to add you on LinkedIn and let's definitely connect because I can send you a lot. And, you just need to have the right connections. And that's also for me, like this afternoon, I sent a message to one of my artists, like, hey, I saw Tomorrowland in your calendar. Do you have that invite for me? And then he sent it over to me. And and from there, it's like, as I said, I RSVP to a bunch. But for example, on the Wednesday night, like an Armada mixer, for me, that's really valuable. And for my artist as well. Tomorrowland will be really interesting. There's another one that's for one of my artists interesting and not for me. So it's always like, get all of them in and just ask a lot of people that like there are a few people in the music industry that are really protective over their contacts, over their knowledge and all of that, but there are a few that are not, and those people helped me as well in the beginning. So try to find the right people and just ask them for help, because if you don't ask, then you will not get it. And with this, we all need a little help with that, so that's fine. Like I need help from other people, so wherever I can help, and if it's like sending an invite for a mixer, that's not a big issue for me. So yeah.
I always find the She Said So mixer to be really helpful. I mean, I live in South Africa, so I don't have the chance to meet as many people in Europe as often as most people do. So being part of the She Said So community has been like a huge game changer for me. Like, and you even get like a discount on the Pro Pass as well. There's so many perks, and it's also an inclusive space. So it's like, like women and gender non-conforming people and men as well. So it's not like it's only just women who can go to the mixer. So I found that to be so valuable over the years for myself. And I think if you can go to that, I think that it's on their website. I think the information is on there. I think I can't remember where they are this year, but like a coffee shop or something. But yeah, She Said some mixes are always like the bomb for me. I love them, and I think they're usually on Wednesdays. So
I think being part of like an organization, it really helps because also like you have that little like bonding thing, whereas like, oh, if you're from She Said So, I'm also from She Said So, or like AFEM, for example. It's like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
I'm so Amber,
APM
you know, like
also.
you have the icebreaker already there. And like, yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Sorry. Yeah, I think actually like, yeah, being part of something's good. I think sometimes I found it useful, like with a mixer, to go with someone I know, even if we don't work together particularly, but you've just got a buddy to be there with, and you're not just stood on your own going, hi, who are you, or whatever, and it can feel a bit awkward. Like if there's two of you there, like it's more likely that someone else is going to come and talk to you as well, which is quite good, and you can kind of introduce each other to other people. I think that's quite useful. And like the other thing I'd say from like mixers is, if you do manage to like introduce yourself to or introduce to someone who you really want to talk to or want to do some business with, and I learned this myself. I mean, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, I remember going to Meedem and I got introduced to someone who's like ran a label that I really admired. I run a record label as well, so I was kind of there with that in that guise. And he worked at a distributor, and I got introduced to him in the street and was like, yes, I'm really looking for distribution. And like I could see his face just being like, dude, calm down, but I was really young and kind of overexcited. So I think just like actually, people are there to do business, but actually like being a person and saying, hey, how's your week been going? Like,
Yes.
to later, and not going straight into business stuff, because I think maybe Madeline, you said it before, it's a little bit about just getting to know people, and they know who you are and there's a bit of context, and then you can follow up and maybe do the deals you need to do, or try and get some business stuff going afterwards. But like if you go in a bit too hot, it can be kind of off-putting for people. So just kind of taking a breath, I think is quite useful.
I think it
Yeah.
goes.
And
Sorry.
all of it. No, also to jump in on that, like once you had that like that informal moment, know how to pitch yourself. Because I always ask my artists, like, if they're going to ask you, like, who are you? What are you going to say? And then they say like a whole thing of like 5 minutes. I'm like, no, that's not going to happen. Just a quick elevator pitch. Doesn't have to be like really as if you're selling yourself, but more like, this is what I do. And also like if it's specifically like, oh, we're looking for a booking agent, then just have a thing in mind of like why you think that specific person or company would fit, and think that as well, like just jumping from meeting to meeting or just meeting people in the street, indeed, like that's so valuable. But it's even more valuable if you can actually get something out of it, or if you know how to make sure that that person remembers you. And indeed, be a person, have a nice connection. Don't stand there like, oh, I admire you and all of that. No, we're all people. We're all in the music industry just having fun. We're like honored that this is our job. It's crazy. But yeah, like also have a bit of a smaller elevator pitch in mind.
Ines, did you want to say something?
I think I wanted to go a little bit like back to like the goals. Like I think you need to like maybe like set like also like realistic expectations. Like a lot of people come to me and they think like, oh, I want to like find a manager at ADE. Well, I mean, in this case, it's like this is like a manager meeting, but I've never do actually proper business at ADE. I just meet the humans, I vibe with them, and then maybe I'll do business with you in 10 years, maybe in 2 years, maybe never, but maybe you will introduce me to someone who I will make business with later. So I think to me, like talking about specific things, about like specific, like this is like you're not gonna like, or I don't know. I don't know a lot of people that goes and like signs a record deal there at ADE and signs it, it's a place where all humans, and I think it's so important to find the people that you vibe with, and then the rest always follow. So I think it's more important to, I don't know, sometimes I like to talk like, do you have a cat? Oh, I love, show me a picture of your cat. We bond over the fact that you have a cat, and then next week I will, or like in a month, it's about the relationship building. And you never know who you're gonna meet, in a random, like, I don't know, ordering a coffee, and that person might turn into your partner in the future, on a business venture, or he will introduce you to like your biggest artist. I think it's like when you're thinking on your goals, it can be like don't really always like go like with that like hard like pitch, this is what I want from you. Get to like know the person. Maybe you actually don't like the person, and you actually don't want to work with them because you don't vibe. So
yeah, that's what similar to something I was going to say as well, in terms of like often I found when I go to ADE, I literally only start working with people like maybe a year later, or like it's never, like it's not always so immediate. Like you're just meeting people and you're building relationships slowly. So that kind of leads into the last question that I have before we take questions. And I would ask that you make these like really quick responses so we can give them some time to ask questions. But I think the last question is, what is a successful ADE for you? Like when you go to ADE and go back home after those 5 days and you like just collapse on your bed, what is like, what makes you say, okay, this was a great ADE? I'll start with you, Madeline.
Well, I think this year it's going to be when I reach most of the goals of my artists. And luckily that there aren't like really high goals, but that I feel that I have added something for them. And in this case, it's like connecting them to, or like even at a mixer, just introducing them to a booking agent or introducing them to the right publishers. I think that is always like, I think one of the biggest values as a manager is your network. And I'm really proud of the network that I built over the past years. And that's something that my artists are looking for in me as well. So at ADE, I always feel at my best when I'm at those like mixers and stuff. And I know a lot of people and I can introduce them to all of my artists, and also having all of my artists together. That's like so cool. Just to see them all in a room together here in my office. I'm organizing a breakfast with all of them. And yeah, that's a proud moment for me. So yeah, this year I'm not the hardest one on like being satisfied after ADE, I think.
Ali, what would be success for you?
Yeah, well, I think this year we've got like we're doing a networking. Well, we've got like a speed meeting event as part of the official program. We're doing a workshop, and then we have a mixer as well. So it's kind of very like big things that I'm, very set in stone, and making them successful's the key. I think in years gone by, when I was there going more to try and meet people and do things, it was like if I can come away with like having a few good contacts that you can follow up with and do some business, but also just like I feel particularly ADE, it's such a you're accessing a community. We talked about those smaller communities that everybody has, whether it's She Said So or or Emma or anything else. But like actually, like if you can go and have like had some time just hanging out with people and they know who you are, you've got a bit of context within the sort of circles that you want to be in. I think that's pretty good. It's slightly nebulous thing, but I think it's actually sort of what you want is that when you go back year after year, there's more kind of what Madeline's saying before. There's more and more of those people who you're like, oh, ADE, I'll catch up with this person, just because you're building that network and in a kind of organic and real way. So yeah, that for me, that's kind of how I'd frame it, I guess.
And Ines, what would be a successful ADE for you?
I mean, I think this year I'm gonna go a lot with the flow, but because we have like our own like private like event with like all our Asia promoters and all our artists. But for me, when a conference is successful is like when I have left a conference with an industry friend, like with someone. I think like what Madeline was saying, like your network, it's so important. And I have found that having someone that you can call and have a proper conversation and say, hey, I really need your help with this. So I think making a new friend, like a proper, a friend, an industry friend, that is, I just want to meet one friend in every conference. That's sort of like my goal, or like someone that I want to build a proper friendship with. That's now actually my goal in every conference. And I travel quite a lot, but I just want to have like one valuable source, because like one valuable friend, that's someone that it's worth like 20 other contacts, because you can really, you can just like mix your brains and merge them and reach your goals together. So yeah, I want to have new friends.
Yeah. It's always nice to have new friends. the last AD I went to, I met someone who I've been really good friends with, and every time I'm in London, I see her, we have lunch, and it's like, it's just like, it's so nice. It's really, really nice to just be able to have people who you can connect with and, you know, just, yeah, be friendly with. It's amazing. Thank you all so much for answering my question.
You
Pardon?
need to reply to this one.
Oh, yes, I was gonna open the floor now
Oh.
to some questions to anyone. We have had some in the chat and we've answered them sort of on the way, but if there's anything, Steve says he was at the first ADE in 1995 and there were only 40 participants. 39 from
I
the
wanted to
Netherlands.
check
That's
because I
crazy.
saw a photo. I saw a photo of one of the first ADE. So Steve, was that the one in like where the Mars Cantina later was?
That's crazy. Did he hear you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Is there anyone who has a question
it's
that
one at
they
the
feel
back.
needs a little bit more expanding that they've put in the chat? Or if you would like to ask a question, please feel free to just put your hand up and we'll switch on the mic and fire away. Sorry, I'm just gonna go through the chat quickly.
There's a like on the speed meets, there's a question. So maybe Ali, because you're doing one, maybe you have more info on that.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know how it sort of works from the other way around. Like we're doing an event called Meet the Platforms, so they're bringing in a bunch of us to be in the space, and then they'll have people kind of sent to us.
I actually
But
know
yeah.
how it works. I was
Oh,
on the
cool.
informative session of the Meet the Agents. So you just need to you need to have a pass, and then you just need to go there early. And they just let a number of people in, and you're gonna see, like in this case, like the platforms or the media, or in my case, like the booking agents. And then every person, you know, like every company is going to do a little intro, and then you just need to make a queue on whoever you want to speak to, and you'll have 5 minutes, but you need to have an official pass, and it's first come, first served.
Wow, that's super
So
quick.
it's apparently quick and intense, but you know, just like have an elevator pitch, exchange details, and you know, like organize a call for later, I guess.
Cool. Any other questions?
I think there was one which like my artists have a lot as well. And I think that's for me is also difficult. I think Beata asked about like finding performance opportunities.
Yeah, sorry, my
Yeah. And I have the
refreshing.
same with my
Go ahead.
artists. I'm always running into that with the artists that don't have a booking agency on like where should they go? And normally it's like via the context that we have, but yeah, maybe Ines, you can give more tips or something.
Yeah, it's a hard one. It's through your network. I mean, usually like at ADE, most people are performing for free. It's usually, you know, like but it's a complicated one. Like most of our artists actually have like 20 or 30-minute slots on each other parties, and those are like people that are like, you know, like really, really top artists, and they play for free and for 20 minutes. So unless you're actually like, you know, headlining the night, and you know, it's complicated. I don't know.
Yeah.
Put it on Instagram. I don't know. It's a really hard one. Everyone wants, and there's not enough slots. Yeah.
That's true. I find that like someone put in the chat about like being invited by label showcases, a really good way to get in. And I know from like people that I've worked with, like just the year before, if you have an idea that you want to play at a show, or like just sort of researching before what shows were on and just like messaging people. Like I know it sounds like, and it's probably stuff that people do already, but I feel like if you try and do it like super, super early on, like before people have filled up their rosters, and like being also realistic about like where you want to play, because a lot of people are putting on like smaller things, like small parties, you know, small day party things or little get-togethers. And you know, obviously it's, you know, very tricky to try and get like a really high paid gig around 88 because people are just around and people are just playing. So like just being realistic also, like just knowing that you're not gonna go and like play the most, like bankable show or like, but just being super realistic about like what you want to play and like just putting yourself out there. And I would say not playing too many though. Like once you do get the opportunity, I feel like sometimes people just kind of pack them and end up just doing like 4 or 5 things. I kind of feel like sometimes it helps to be a bit more discerning as well with that, like, not doing and overexhausting yourself as well, like once you have the opportunity. But if it's your goal to do that, then I would say plan for that a year in advance instead of
Let people
like
know.
doing it the year, like now this year you want to do it, you start reaching out this year, like do it from this year when you go, so that next year you can, like, people know you, they've seen you, you've been to their party or you've been to their thing. Like it also helps to attend people's things.
Yeah. I think that the smaller parties are actually where you can meet some people, because like the bigger events is much harder. But also letting people know, of course, when a party is like, when you post it and you announce it, the lineup is already closed. So just letting people know that you will be at ADE and that you are actually looking for opportunities. Maybe also like on the Google group of like She Said So, or letting like AFEM know, or like also like your own like countries. I know, like, I don't know, like Sounds of Australia is doing, their own thing. Like maybe, an organization in your country, like a music export, might be doing
Yeah, that's true.
showcase.
Yeah.
So I think like
Or
reaching out.
within Emma, you of course have like all the MMFs. So as I think Jess already sent it earlier, like the mixer of MMF, the Netherlands. So yeah, indeed, like all those different organizations are good.
Omar has a question.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
How's it going? Omar calling in from Toronto, Canada. Excited. This is my first ADE. My question feels a little bit outdated now just because everyone says that they don't rave as much as they used to. But I wanted to understand any sort of tips you had around using the Pro Pass to get into any of the ADE sanctioned parties in the evening, more of the DJ sort of events like that. The one tip that I heard is that you can obviously use it, but it is capped. So I was just wondering if anyone had any additional information. For instance, if the event opens at 10:30 or 11, is it if you're not there by 11, don't bother go, or you're gonna have to buy a ticket, or do you have a range of kind of based on personal experience?
We organized a party a few years ago with Sam Veld, and then we got that note from ADE, like, yeah, you have to have like a certain amount for the ADE passes. We didn't really think about that, to be honest. But then, of course, if people were early, then it was easier to just say like, oh yeah, that's part of it. But then when it was like later, we said to the people at the door, like, yeah, it's really full. So yeah, let's not do that anymore. So it's a tricky thing, but that was a few years ago. So maybe Ines, you know more about like this year and the previous thing.
To the bigger ones, unless you go when they open, don't bother going. I would just like go and ticket swap and like try to like buy a ticket where like, you're gonna for sure get like tickets last minute at a not expensive fee. For the smaller ones, there is a little bit more room, but for the bigger ones, unless you're there when they open, don't bother.
Yeah.
Duly noted. I appreciate the candor. That's exactly what I was looking for. I didn't need the political response. That's exactly what I was looking for. So no,
Yeah.
thank you very much.
And indeed, like,
I'm not sure if you
yeah,
know
ticket swap is a good one.
Ticket swap, it's an official like resale company that works really well in the Netherlands, I think overall in Europe, but especially in the Netherlands. And you always like get like tickets like from people that cannot go on that same night, and you are not allowed to sell it for like more expensive than what you actually bought it. And there's a lot of people, if there's like, I don't know, like 200 people that they cannot go to that party, sometimes you actually get it like cheaper. So I actually usually in the Netherlands never buy tickets, or like rarely, and then I just like go and ticket swap the same day and I get them for cheaper.
Amazing. Duly noted. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, everyone. We've reached 7 o'clock, and it seems like all the questions have been exhausted. Thank you so much for spending time with us today and for all your questions. And thank you to our speakers, Inez, Madeline, Ali, thank you so much for accepting our invitation and for taking time to share your experiences and your knowledge with everyone. Please do check out the resources in the chat if you haven't already. And do say hi to us when you see us in Amsterdam if we bump into each other. Thank you so much. Thank you.